you guys a question. How many of you feel like you belong? I'd say the majority of us spend most of our lives trying to figure out where we belong and who we belong to. Some of us may even be pretending that we belong, or we're forcing the belonging. I can tell you this, I have spent most of my life trying to figure out where I belong, and I don't even know if I found it yet. But I can tell you this, I have come a very far way from where I was just a few years ago. And so in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how I've been working to find that belonging and really the secret I think we are all missing as we search for belonging. Before we get started, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Bridget, and I am a confidence and mindset coach for introverted women. I also have a free Facebook group, so if you guys are interested, you're into personal development, you want to work on your confidence in your relationships, really urge you to check out the group. We're an awesome community, and again, I'm going to be linking that down below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful or useful in any way. Comment below what you'd like to see more from me, please, and subscribe if you are not already subscribed. So let's get into the video. As a quirky and introverted, lonely child, I always had this sense that I never really belonged anywhere or to anyone. I was loved by my family, accepted by close friends, but I still felt this sense that I didn't belong and no one really understood me. And I struggled with that for years. I was also a people pleaser. So in relationships and in new environments, I would pretend to be the person that everyone wanted me to be or expected me to be. I faked it. I faked it till I made it. And I did that for years and years and years. I conditioned myself to think that the person I was based off of who I surrounded myself with and the environment I surrounded myself with. So I lived with imposter syndrome for a really, really long time. So it's not shocking that I didn't belong or I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. When you're not authentic and you lie to yourself and you don't know what you really want, you're going to be left confused and frustrated. My quest for belonging started just a few years ago. On my journey of reading every self-help book I could find and writing things down and meditating and journaling and doing all the things that, you know, one does when they're going on their personal development or self-help journey, whatever you want to call it. I did all the right things and I still felt unfulfilled. I still felt like there was something missing. I've recently been reading Brene Brown's book called Braving the Wilderness. And if you guys don't know who Brene Brown is, she is pretty much a social researcher. So a couple of her big things that she researches and interviews people about are shame, belonging, guilt, things like that. So in her book, Braving the Wilderness, she talks a lot about belonging. And in it, she writes about this quote she comes across by Maya Angelou. Essentially, Maya says that you don't really feel free until you realize that you belong no place. You belong every place, no place at all. Brene goes on to say that she was confused for years, didn't understand it at all, she didn't agree with it, and I was just as confused as she was when I read it. But as Brene goes on to say, the way she kind of interpreted that quote was that we don't ever find belonging until we belong to ourselves. And so it's almost like we can't ever belong anywhere until we realize that we don't belong anywhere. We just are. We just belong. Right? So when you can find freedom being yourself, being authentic, you don't need anybody in your life to confirm that belief that you belong. You don't need to be in a specific place to confirm that belief that you belong. You're just there and you always belong. And it kind of put me in a little bit of a spiral because I realized that for a really long time, that's pretty much what I did. I surrounded myself with people who I thought I should surround myself with. and I acted a certain way around those people based on what they wanted me to be, or who they wanted me to be, how they wanted me to look, what they wanted me to say. And I put myself in places where I thought people wanted me to be. And when I realized that the only way that I was ever going to truly belong was if I felt like I belonged to myself, that made me feel a lot of different things. And it kind of made me realize that I was probably having an identity crisis. And I did have an identity crisis for sure. I had no idea who I was. No idea what my likes were, my hobbies were, my values, my beliefs. It was as if I had to craft this whole new version of myself, or figure out like which parts of my life were a lie and which parts weren't. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been in this position. And so when you experience this acknowledgement that that's what you really need to belong, it's hard. So one of the things I started to do to try and be more authentic in my life and be more vulnerable and honest was that I started to embrace some of the things that I was previously insecure about, or embrace some of my faults, or even my uniquenesses, right? It's important to embrace the positive. But when I started to embrace those things and actually share those things with people, whether those were close people in my life or just strangers or acquaintances or family even, I really felt like I was becoming this person that I wanted to be. And it felt really good. It felt really honest. I used to do this thing where I always made myself an extension of other people. And that was because I didn't really feel like I belonged. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know that I could be myself and embrace those unique parts of me and stand on my own. And so when I started being honest about myself, my quirks, my insecurities, it felt really good. It felt like I was being judged less, and it felt like I was being less critical of myself. And I also felt like I was starting to hold a position in certain social groups. Another thing I started to do was making sure that I wasn't fitting in with everyone else's standards that they have set for me, and then I needed to create my own standards. And I kind of already talked about this already, but I needed to stop being the person that people expected me to be, and I needed to be the person that I wanted to be, or that I expected of myself. And the last thing I want to mention is probably the most important on here, because it was something I really had to come to terms with as I started to go on this journey. I thought that I would instantly start to feel better once I was getting to know myself more. Once I started being more authentic and vulnerable. I thought, well, that's it. I should instantly feel like I belong places. But that's not the case. Whether you're just starting your journey, you're in the middle of your journey, or wherever you are, this takes time. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't even know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I have found true belonging within myself, but I've started to. And I'm already seeing all of the effects and the changes it's had on my life and my individuality and my strengths, my confidence, everything. But this journey takes time, and we need to acknowledge how far we've come, wherever it is, wherever you are. We need to acknowledge that it will take time, and everyone is at their own pace. And some people, it will happen really, really fast, and others, it might take a lifetime. So we need to keep that expectation in check. And it's also really comforting to know that, it's not something that we have to reach at a certain point. It's not, it's not time sensitive. It can happen whenever it happens. So if you've made it till the end, thank you so much for watching. That's all I have for you guys today. Before I end today's video, I just wanted to quickly mention that spots for me for consult are open. So if you are a woman on your personal development journey, you want to be more confident and have more fulfilling relationships in your life, make sure you check out the consult. I'm going to leave it linked in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful and useful as always, and I will see you next time. Bye.